bitches go.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence looks likely for next. We unpack. Coming to you live. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We work. And also sign up for ESPN Plus. I am an affiliate. It helps the channel, and the link is in the description of all my videos. And there's some pretty good fights coming up, especially with the UFC. I'm looking for that Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, UFC 244. Now, let's talk about it. You know, shout out to my dude, Lunatoon. He posted it, he made this picture, and it has like Crawford on the outside looking in. I did a video about that. Crawford kind of the odd man out with Top Rank. And we just seen a great classic, instant classic, in my opinion, Errol Spence versus Sean Porter. Their styles collided and gelled really well. And Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman, another very fun fight. That was a consolidation of the WBA titles. Now they're both chilling. Keith Thurman looks like he, put on a little bit of weight. Pacquiao, I've just seen him kind of with his family chilling out. Sean Porter, Errol Spence. Errol Spence got his belt, WBC belt. He's a unified champion. Danny Garcia, he hasn't been in action since maybe February, but he looked real good in the Adrian Granados fight. Not really a guy who's easy to look good against. And, I made a video about this. It looks like this should be next. Shout out to Mike Coppinger. He was one of the early people to report it. He's with The Athletic. He's a boxing reporter. And they're saying that a fight between this man, Errol the True Spence Jr., and here it is. Sources: deal in place for Errol Spence Jr. to defend unified welterweight championships versus Danny Garcia pegged for January 25th, PBC Fox pay-per-view. Garcia confronted Spence during the champ's in-ring interview with Heidi after his victory over Sean Porter last night, right? And Fox is also carrying this year's Super Bowl, or next year's Super Bowl, the following week, so expect a substantial marketing push for Spence's third consecutive fight on Fox pay-per-view. PBC often lags in announcing fights, but they got it right with Heidi Androl and saying Spence Garcia is next on the telecast. Listen, we unpack coming to you live. This man that you see on screen, Danny Swift Garcia, I don't know what the fuck it is about him that got people in their feelings, and they refuse to give this man credit for being a good fighter. He is a good fighter. He's been the champion in 2 divisions, 140, where he beat the boogeyman. See, this is like, I really feel like Roy Jones when it comes to this shit. That's why boxing needs me. Can't leave boxing alone. The game needs me. I feel like Roy Jones. Y'all must have forgot. People counted Danny Garcia. It's weird. Some guys get all the, like Lomachenko and shit. He get all the praise in the world seemingly for very few fights. He got 15 fights, and they were praising him when he had 6-7 fights. Danny Garcia got a quality resume. I think he's 30, maybe something like that, and he has a quality, literally a quality resume, and people still sleep on this man. This man fought Kendall Holt, puncher. He fought Eric Morales, dropped him in the first fight. Then some people, he exercised the rematch clause. Eric Morales did. Eric Morales failed a drug test with clenbuterol, just like Canelo. People don't talk about that. And Danny Garcia still fought him and spun him around, knocked him out. This man fought Lucas Matisse after the Peterson fight, where people said Danny was going to get slaughtered. Look, this man has 35 wins, 2 losses. We know those 2 losses. Sean Porter, who just gave Errol Spence a tough-ass fight. And truth be told, Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter, and I'm not trying to get too deep into this aspect of it, but they were different fights. I was at both of them. I was at Porter Spence, and I also went to Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter in New York. There are two different fights. Again, there's probably different variables for that, but styles make fights. And both Errol Spence and Sean Porter collided. There's some trash talking, and they had something to prove. But Danny's losses, just like Sean Porter, are all respectable. He didn't just get knocked out and knocked through the ropes or nothing crazy. You can't count these Philly fighters out. We know this. But look at Ashley Theophane. Before Broner fought him, Danny fought him. Mike Arenadas, who was a ranked guy at the time. Nate Campbell, former champion. Kendall Holt, as I mentioned. Eric Morales spun around. Amir Khan knocked out Eric Morales. Hurt Zab Judah, and then Zab Judah kind of came back in that fight. But he survived, and look at Judah's resume at that time: 42 fights, seven losses. Matisse, when Matisse was a killer. Mauricio Herrera, I thought he lost that fight, but this is in 2014. Rod Salka, that was weak. Lamont Peterson gave him a tough fight. It's like, I don't know what it is about Danny Garcia. Paulie Malignaggi, Robert Guerrero, Samuel Vargas, who Errol Spence and Amir Khan also fought. Keith Thurman, he knocked out Brandon Rios with the headshot. We seen Rios knocked out to the body, but not with a headshot, bro. Sean Porter, Adrian Granados. So the bottom line is Danny Garcia is like Rodney Dangerfield of boxing. No respect. He gets no respect from these weak ass boxing fans, and I just can't understand it based on his resume. But people are quick to give Triple G or some, Lomachenko with 15 fights all the credit in the world. Danny versus Errol Spence, let me tell you, is a good fight. Now, this is the thing. Oh my gosh, I couldn't wait to make this video. Danny has a respectable resume. Errol just unified and became the unified welterweight champion. Only guy in the division with 2 belts. Danny doesn't have a belt, but now he can almost, if he can beat Errol Spence, he can really reclaim everything that he lost in his 2 losses, if that makes sense. Because if you think about it, he was a WBC. I think he was Keith Thurman. I'm trying to remember. It's been a little while. He was the WBC champion, if I'm not mistaken, and Keith Thurman had the WBA. And then there was a unification, and then they fought, and then Keith Thurman beat him, so he lost the WBA. Then Keith Thurman relinquished it because he was out. He was injured and all types of stuff. So him and Sean Porter were the highest ranked guys. Sean Porter had like the interim or silver WBC belt, and then he lost that fight. So this not only gives Danny Garcia an opportunity at the WBC belt that he once held, but also IBF belt, which he didn't have in this division. So he can, in one night he can correct both of his losses, not through the people he lost to, but another great fighter in Errol Spence, if he can beat him. And they had them both in the ring. Danny Garcia, he surprised me. He's surprisingly bigger than you would expect. I've seen him and stuff. See, I'm a big dude, so a lot of guys don't look, they're not bigger than me, so I don't really look at it like that. But when I seen him next to other people in his weight class, he's big. Him next to Errol Spence, when he got in the ring, I don't know if it's the camera angle, because I was live in the ring, so I only seen the pictures and seen it from live in the flesh. But from the pictures and stuff that I seen, he looked like he had some. He looked a little bit bigger than Errol Spence, to be honest. So I think Danny has a deceptive size, and we know he has heavy hands, and we know he has veteran experience. Again, I think this is a good fight, point blank, period. Errol Spence, he's the truth. He just beat Sean Porter. Some people contested or whatever, but judges gave him the fight. He beat him at Sean Porter, his own game, really. Because he got the win over Sean Porter, and Sean Porter did similar to what he did to Berto and overwhelms guys like Paulie Malignaggi. Errol sat in there with that and was chunking him, proving something, chip on his shoulder, like Tim Bradley versus Ruslan Provodnikov, similar type of thing where it didn't even seem like it benefited him to have that style of fight, but he still, he got drug into it or he chose to do it, whatever, and he did it. And then at the end of the day, that's just kind of what the fight was, and it became an instant classic afterwards. So I like this fight. I think this is a good fight, And we got to talk about the detractors. We got to talk about old media, because I'm running this new media shit, Ego's Army. So the thing I noticed from pretty much the PBC detractors, the usual suspects, one, they're not giving Danny Garcia any credit. Like, oh, nobody wants to see this shit. Bro, you're not going to get in boxing every single fight you want when you want it. Yes, people want to see Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. But the funny thing is this. People just in life, you are not going to be able to please everybody. Just accept that and just handle your business, because that's it. So look at this. Some people said, just listen, I'm talking about the detractors. Some people said, oh, this is bullshit. Errol lost to Sean Porter. But then they want to see him fight Terence Crawford. If you believe he didn't beat Sean Porter, why you want to see him fight Crawford? That don't make sense. Oh, Errol Spence was exposed. This is not my thoughts. I'm telling you what some of these people are saying. They're saying Errol Spence was exposed by Sean Porter. Then why does he have to go fight Terence Crawford, who you think is the best guy in the division, instead of Danny Garcia, which is easier to make, on the same side of the fence? They already got it cracking with Fox. They already had everybody present. It's just an easier fight to make. You have Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, and Sean Porter. They all already had it locked. You know what I'm saying? It just don't make sense. Of course, I want to see Spence versus Terence Crawford also. Terence Crawford is a phenomenal fighter. I'm not forgetting about Terence Crawford. But this is the nature of the beast. He is aligned with a different promoter, and his own promoter has done the same thing. When Top Rank had the top welterweights, Pacquiao, Mike Alvarado, Jesse Vargas, Brandon Bam Bam Rios when he was relevant, Ruslan Provodnikov, Bob Arum did not mix and match his fighters at that time with Al Heyman fighters. This is an actual fact. You know how I know? Because I was covering boxing and I lived it. So, for example, I would have loved to see at the time undefeated Brandon Rios versus undefeated Adrian Broner. Now I don't care about the fight, but at the time I would have loved to see it. You get what I'm saying? And there could have been great fights, Jesse Vargas, Jose Cito Lopez, or just different Danny Garcia versus Rios or Pacquiao, and none of those fights were made. Pacquiao was sitting up there with Top Rank, and he was fighting Rios coming off a loss, Chris Algieri, Jesse Vargas, all in-house type fights that were lesser fights. And the only one outside of that was Mayweather, which had built up for 6-7 years or whatever. So they would have been foolish not to do the joint promotion and get that money. So just like Errol Spence is saying right here, he said, told y'all the tables will turn, man down, strap season unified champion. The tables have turned also on the promotional game. Bob Arum doesn't have the top well. He don't have Jesse Vargas anymore. Ruslan Provodnikov, I believe, retired. He don't have Pacquiao. He's with Al Heyman now, right? Rios, he left. He's with DAZN, or he was with Heyman. He was with DAZN now, and he's losing to Humberto Soto, stuff like that. And now all of a sudden, now Bob Arum and old media, they're pushing for a fight that they know is not going to happen next for obvious reasons. Again, this is just Terence Crawford. Love him to death, but he in this situation is the odd man out. He re-signed with Top Rank. They don't have the bodies for him. Top Rank, when they didn't work outside of the box until recently, because I think Arum is warming up to the idea like, okay, we got to make money. We got to send Oscar Rivas over to DAZN to get that DAZN paycheck with Dillian White. We got to send Jose Ramirez in a unification over to DAZN to fight Maurice Hooker. That's just all this year, and recently. Dante's Boxing Nation got a video where he interviewed Bob Arum, and DBN said something to the effect of, don't you think you should work with Al Heyman? And then Bob Arum said, nope, it's on camera. He said, nope, and walked away. So that was a couple years ago. Now, like Errol is saying, tables have turned. So as much as I would like to see Crawford versus any of these guys you see on this screen, Danny, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, they're all great fights. He is the odd man out. for reasons beyond him. You know, I think Crawford would fight anybody. But it's like, you know, it's like I worked at Lowe's, and, you know, a lot of people came over to Lowe's and left Home Depot. You get what I'm saying? They were working at Home Depot. So there was a couple of people, I never worked at Home Depot, but there were a couple of people left at Home Depot, and everyone else left and came to Lowe's. So you know what I'm saying? Is Terence Crawford is the guy still at Home Depot, and all the other people left and started working at Lowe's. You get what I'm saying? So you know, it sucks that this is the reality of it, but I'm not gonna cry over it, because this has been the reality. This whole Cold War, and you know, before it was Golden Boy was working with, had Richard Schaefer working for them, and they were working with Heyman, and then none of them worked with Golden Boy, and it was before PBC was established. Al Heyman fighters were under the Golden Boy, and Richard Schaefer, they were all one big kind of unit. None of them were working with Top Rank unless they had to. You know, like Edislandi Lara, Vanes Matarosen, I think, was a joint because of mandatories and stuff like that. So I'm not going to cry now. This has been the case in boxing. Same reason we didn't get Mayweather versus Pacquiao for hella years. People in suits. So, you know, I had to establish that. Crawford, the other thing is this, from the usual suspects. See, I'm about to slaughter. We Unpacked, coming to you live. I'm about to slaughter old media because the shit's not adding up. Again, some people, and you know who I'm talking about, the type of fans, old media people, they're saying Errol got exposed, Errol lost to Sean Porter. Why you want to see him fight Crawford then? If that's what you honestly feel. You know, if Errol's not good, you know, this is the type of dumb rhetoric that they're spewing out. Errol's not good. So then Danny Garcia should be right up his alley. You know, why do you want to see him fight Crawford if Errol was exposed and he's not that good? You see, this rhetoric from old media don't even make sense anymore. You know, I don't think it ever made sense, but it definitely don't make sense now. If you're saying, how are you going to say Errol Spence got exposed and he really lost to Porter and it was a robbery, but then you want to see him fight the other guy you think is the best in the division rather than the easy fight to facilitate? That is probably not going to be an easy fight in terms of battle, right? That's one thing. Two, half of the motherfuckers who are complaining about Spence and Danny Garcia hated on the fact that Errol Spence was fighting Sean Porter, and we just got an instant fucking classic from that fight. You know, look at Danny, bro. Look at Danny's shoulders, bro. Danny looked kind of big. I'm telling you, Danny looked kind of big next to Spence, and Spence got size too. Danny's not small. He ain't no hoe in there. But anyway, the same people who complained about, oh, why is Errol Spence fighting Porter, or I don't want to see this shit, or that's an okay fight but it's not worthy of pay-per-view. You full of shit. The whole card was cool, and the main event definitely delivered. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you can't please people like this. So Errol Spence could keep winning, keep fighting, keep making this money, keep going on pay-per-view. Just keep doing what the fuck you're doing, bro, because there's no way to appease people. You know, if they said they didn't want to fight Porter because that fight is stupid. That was a tough fight. It was a good fight. It was a meaningful fight. It was a unification. And I told you, and listen, this is not ego versus Crawford. I've made the trip to Omaha and Lincoln several times. I've been to Timeout Chicken and everything. I love Crawford, but I speak the fact. I told you this was all coming. I predicted this shit all on my channel. Terence Crawford, the reality of it is, he is a phenomenal fighter. I have him pound for pound number one in terms of skill. I think he's a generational fighter. But the reality is, he's aligned with the side where he can't get the best fights that will showcase at 47 right now. You know, his promoter's not able to facilitate the fights that'll really make him. And even when they had the opportunity to fight Pacquiao, for whatever reason, Arum did not make the fight. Team Pacquiao, they should have forced Pacquiao to fight Crawford. Like I said back then, I told y'all, Pacquiao didn't want no smoke. You know, and Crawford was at 40 at the time, and Pacquiao was at 47. So that could have been a crazy cracking fight to really show us what Crawford was made of, because he would have had to move up, most likely, or at least fight at a catchweight. Listen, the reality of it is PBC has the best welterweights outside of Crawford. Crawford can't fight himself. you know, so he has to fight other people. So if you think about it, out of all the guys that Crawford has fought at 47, none of them have a Sean Porter resume at 47 or higher. Jeff Horn, his claim to fame was Randall Bailey at 41 years old in fucking Pacquiao, and I thought he lost the Pacquiao fight. You feel me? So he's a school teacher. You know, the Horn, Jeff, the Hornet, Horn. Bro, he had an 18-0 record. Sean Porter has a way better resume than him. Jose Benavidez, good fighter, but he don't got no resume. Like, I thought he lost to Mauricio Herrera. Plus, he was coming from 40 previously, and he got shot in the leg or knee or whatever. And, you know, he had an absence where he wasn't really active like that. So he don't have a Sean Porter resume. And then you have Amir Khan, who has a good resume, but he's also been stopped. You know, he didn't show like the resume plus the durability of a guy like Sean Porter. So that's my honest opinion. I rate Crawford. I swear I do. You know, if you follow my channel, I swear I do. But the reality of it is people were hating. And I said to you guys from the beginning, how can you hate that Spence is fighting Sean Porter and he has a better resume at that weight class than Terence Crawford does? Because Crawford hasn't been able to, or his promoter hasn't been able to get him the live dog bodies with the big names. So this is what this is boiling down to. That's why people are now hating on the Errol Spence, because it's a territorial thing. Danny Garcia is a big name. You know, how many subscribers? Look, he has 603,000 followers. He's been main event. He has some of the Barclay records for boxing. I think his fight with Zab Judah. He does good numbers. You know, Fox is doing a bang up job with promoting boxing. So that's what this is more about. People are being left in the dust promotionally. Him versus Spence is not a bad fight. Danny also, if you look at it, look at the names he fought. He fought Keith Thurman and Sean Porter because he's aligned with this side, you know, and he fought them, Granados, Robert Guerrero, Paulie Malignaggi. These are all his names that he fought at 47, not to mention the 40-pound guys like Lucas Matisse and stuff like that. You know, he fought Lamont Peterson basically at 40 at welterweight. It was at like 143 and change. That's closer. You know, anything over 140 is technically welterweight. So Danny also has a resume. So whether you like the stylistic matchup or not, you're not going to take away Danny's accomplishments because you happen to like Terence Crawford's style more. Danny is a certified name. He has a good resume. It makes sense. It's an easy fight to facilitate. Again, everyone wants to see fights like Crawford versus Spence, but we know why those aren't happening. And I think people realize that, and old media realizes that, and they know what's happening, that Top Rank is kind of X'd out in this equation, and they don't have the juice, they don't have the power to control or domineer the 147-pound division. Meanwhile, Errol Spence's star power continues to grow. He continues to grow. He's the only guy at welterweight with 2 belts. He was just in a fight of the year. They just said the numbers for this fight did 300 to 335,000. You know, that's good numbers. So I predicted, man, I'm almost scaring myself how dead on I was with this. The videos are still up. There's on YouTube. Just type in Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. I made a direct video about this way before. I don't even know if Crawford was at 47 when I made the video. I seen this coming a mile away. But shout out again to Coppinger. Sources: PBC on Fox pay-per-view, headlined by Errol Spence Jr. and Sean Porter is tracking over 300,000 buys, with the final number generated expected to land under 350,000. Strong business that cements Spence as a pay-per-view attraction. His pay-per-view with Mikey Garcia also generated over 300,000. Bro, Spence is that boy. He's that dude, because he's being aligned for greatness. He's being given the opportunities. He's getting the looks and that type of thing. His last 2 fights. Look at his. First of all, let's go. I was at all of Spence's last fights, right? his fight with Carlos Ocampo, I went to it. It was at Frisco at the Star, the practice stadium for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Dak came there. Hella people were there. It did 15,000 in attendance, and they seen how big it was. So Jerry Jones had him back for the Mikey Garcia fight. That fight did over 50,000 or 48,000 or whatever it was. It was like 50,000, 52,000, something like that. So attendance, 15,000, 50,000. And then I just went to this fight that you see on the screen, Errol Spence versus Sean Porter. And then that fight did 16,000 and change and was basically sold out for the boxing configuration. And it was lit. It was a dope fight. And both of Errol Spence's fights did 325 to 350,000 against Mikey Garcia, who was moving up a division or two. You know, people say two, but it's really, you know, one. But whatever. He was fighting a guy moving up who's respected in Mikey Garcia. And he did that type of number. And then he fought Sean Porter, who really wasn't even coming off a great performance versus you guys. And he himself said Sean Porter can't sell out a family dinner. So at this pace, what do you think that Danny Garcia is going to do the week before the Super Bowl? Bro, I'm telling you, y'all, I peeped the play a long time ago before all this shit happened. They're aligning Errol Spence to be a marquee name. And if Danny Garcia can upset him and beat him, I don't know who's going to be the favorite. But if Danny Garcia beats him, then boom, he's right there. The winner of this fight could easily fight Pacquiao at the end of the year. Easily. You know? Easily fight him. You know, this looks like the plan. Meanwhile, you just really analyze this. I told you, we unpack, coming to you live. Analyze what I'm saying to you. This man, Errol Spence, will be on his third pay-per-view. I think 3. Yeah, Mikey Porter, and then this will be his third one with Danny Garcia, all on Fox. Fox is doing a bang-up job promotionally, and he's doing 325 to 350,000. Danny's probably a more popular, more known kind of name, more liked. You know, some people are like, oh, Kenny Porter, and I hate Sean Porter's suits and stuff. Danny Garcia has a pops. Angel Garcia, I speak the truth. Talk about Danny, champ of the world, Danny. You know, there's a different energy there. So I think the fight will do good commercially, but you got to look at understand what's going on. This is what I told you. Terence Crawford is supposed to fight this year. Meanwhile, Spence just fought last Saturday, and I'm just getting back home yesterday. Spence just fought on Saturday, and we already know who he's fighting in February or January. You know, the week before Super Bowl on Fox, who's carrying the Super Bowl this year. That's some planning. How do we have Errol Spence's, we know who he's fighting next before they haven't announced anything. Where's Terence Crawford fighting? Who is he fighting? Is he fighting Mean Machine? What's the venue? When the tickets go on sale? You know, is it going to be in New York? Is it going to be in Omaha? Is it going to be in Vegas? Like, we don't know anything. So that shows you that Fox is taking it on another level with the planning. They're like really branding and trying to build stars with that. Because how do we know Errol Spence and Danny Garcia's next fight? You know, especially Spence, since he just fought. Danny fought in like February, but Spence just fought. That's some UFC shit. That's like what Daniel Cormier will beat one dude, and then it's like Stipe Miocic is announced the next week. You know, that's like UFC level planning, where it's like boom, boom, and you already like Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz especially. He just beat Pettis, and he's already promoting the Masvidal fight, and it's already scheduled. That's that UFC shit. UFC's kind of under one umbrella, so people can hate, but that's the reality. Is like they're building real brands and keeping people in the public eye. People see, that's what I'm saying. You can't please everybody. That's why I'm doing these unpacks. I'm doing this shit for boxing. People complaining about Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia, but guess what? When Errol Spence, if he's inactive, then they complain about that. They say, oh, Errol Spence, why is he only fighting one time a year? This is bullshit. He just fought, and we know his next fight, which is a pretty decently quick turnaround. He could spend some time with his family for the holiday, and he got to jump right into camp. No, he'll be in camp for the holidays, really. Christmas, December. He'll be in camp if he's fighting in January. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they see PBC is destroying shit with what they're doing, and old media can't take it. That's just what it is. They complain when Errol's inactive and Tank's inactive, only fighting one time a year. They got a plan for these dudes. Tank's coming back in December. Tank will fight in December. They already have Spence's next fight in January. We still don't know when Terence Crawford is coming back or who he's facing. And I guarantee you this, the same motherfuckers that are complaining about Spence versus Danny Garcia, are they going to complain about whoever Top Rank feeds to Terence Crawford, who's nowhere near the level of Errol Spence or Danny Garcia? And I'm not saying Crawford isn't. I'm saying whoever they select as an opponent, we know is not going to be on the level of Danny Garcia or Errol Spence resume wise. So how is that fair? How is it that PBC fighters and Spence and Danny Garcia, they can't scrap, even though it's easy to make, same side of the fence, they doing their thing. Both are durable. No one's been stopped. We just seen the instant classic with Spence and Porter. They both have mutual opponent in Porter. They're, that's a bad fight. But then Top Rank's probably going to make Terence Crawford fight, I think, his mandatory, Igis Kavalovskis, who, arguably lost to Ray Robinson. It's just, it's funny. And Spence kind of called this too. He's like, man, I'm going to take care of my side of the street. They got more ammunition in the welterweight division. That's just what it is. And this is not a diss to Crawford. It's not a knock on Terence Crawford. This is the reality of it. Errol Spence keeps doing big things, and he's getting to fight based on who he's assigned and aligned with. He's getting to fight the bigger names. Same thing with Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia, he's already fought Sean Porter, fought Keith Thurman, like I said, Guerrero, Paulie, Granados. And then Top Rank can't produce. They gave Crawford Amir Khan, who looked like shit, versus Samuel Vargas, and got dropped. Amir Khan got knocked the hell out by Canelo. He got knocked the hell out by Danny Garcia. See, this is what I'm saying. The criticism is not fair. Amir Khan got destroyed by Bradis Prescott, got destroyed by Danny Garcia, and he really got destroyed by Canelo. Took a year and a half off, and he got knocked out in all them fights. Then he fought Phil LaGreco, who Errol Spence knocked out. Then he fought Samuel Vargas, who Errol Spence knocked out, and Danny Garcia knocked out. And guess what? Amir Khan struggled with him, and that's who Terence Crawford just fought. This is pure reality. And I know Terence Crawford he'll fight. Terence Crawford, I truly feel he'll fight whoever, but his promotion, it can't really give him the looks that would make him a household name. And their best chance or closest chance to doing that, they squandered when they didn't make the Pacquiao fight. That's just what it is. Look, we do not know Crawford's next fight. This is not taking shot. This is what you see on screen. We don't know his next fight. We don't have no rumors of the actual date. I haven't really heard no updates on him. Plus, ESPN ain't even promoting him like that. They talking about Lomachenko and Fury like getting off of a drug binge and shit. Fox is promoting Errol Spence and Danny Garcia and saying like, oh, these guys are great, and this is great for boxing. So it's really full steam ahead. Again, people complaining about Danny Garcia. This is just hilarious, and that's why I did this Unpacked video, because I had to destroy a lot of y'all. The other thing with the fight with Danny Garcia and Errol, aside from the resume, Errol fought Lamont Peterson, Danny fought Lamont Peterson. He's a good fighter, and I'm not taking anything away from Sergey Libnitz, but I don't think he was the same after Spence really broke Lamont Peterson up, and kind of tenderized him by the time. That's why you see Mikey Garcia ain't been back. That Spence, like when he has fights like that, not Sean Porter, because that was a tough fight. But the guys he dominated, they haven't really looked the same after. But anyway, the same people complaining about Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, But just look at some of the other fights. Crawford is having to fight Mean Machine. You know, DAZN, Jaime Munguia, who is he fighting? Inoue, Dennis Hogan, and really losing the fight. He's a champion. Why? That's what I'm saying. Is they do not spread the love. They want to attack Al Heyman because he's a black man and he's strong arming the game and got a game plan of what he wants to do. And they have this like innate hate for certain fighters. A lot of times black fighters, PBC fighters. This is what old media does. I'm telling you. Errol's becoming a star. He is a star, but he's becoming even a bigger and bigger star. People, you have no choice but to respect his performance versus Sean Porter. He buckled down, he bit down, he was never knocked down. He produced a pivotal knockdown when it counted in the 11th round, if I'm not mistaken. And he went to war. You know, he went to war and he unified. It is what it is. Danny Garcia, he has respected pedigree as well. You know, look at the bodies that Danny Garcia has and the amount of fights he has. This is just a reality. I think stylistically it's a good fight. How can you watch the Errol Spence versus Sean Porter? Errol Spence at the elite level with Sean Porter did not just run through Sean Porter. You know, he didn't just easy work, destroy him, right? So that makes me very interested in Errol Spence's next fight. So I can see how he looks. I want to see how he looks. I want to see if Danny Garcia is an equally tough fight just because they're both at the upper echelon, because Danny Garcia and Sean Porter was a close competitive fight. Really could have went either way. So it could be that. But there's variables because Sean Porter has different footwork. He's more athletic and faster than Danny Garcia. People keep talking about how Danny's flat-footed, but he got pop. You know, he got experience. He ain't been stopped. He got a chin too. So I want to see it, especially after this performance, because post-fight, Danny Garcia says Errol Spence is there to be hit and he's definitely beatable. That's what Danny Garcia said in the interview. So this Sean Porter tough fight may have inspired guys like Danny Garcia to now fight him, because you know, at one point it didn't look like Danny was really checking for Errol Spence. And that's my last point that I want to bring up and destroy old media with is this. I get people want to see the Crawford fight, but we're not playing no bullshit games. You know the politics, and you know what's easier to make. You know DAZN. See, this is the problem I have. Most of these promoters would rather make in-house fights if they can get away with it, if they have the stable to do it. That's one thing. And most of them have done that for years. Second thing, you look at DAZN, for example. They got all the top middleweights except for Jamal Charlo, and they're not even making them fight. They made Canelo Jacobs, and it turned out to be kind of a dud. I expected more from Canelo and Jacobs in the matchup. It wasn't no Pacquiao Thurman, and it wasn't no Spence versus Porter for sure, you know, in terms of the collision. And it did 600,000 concurrent streams, whatever that means, at a $10 to a $20 price point. Errol Spence had a way bigger ticket per price, and he did 350,000 pay-per-view buys at $75 a pop, you know, because most people watch HD. So you see these man, it's looking shaky. But the problem I have is people keep hating and complaining about like Danny and Spence and stuff, but how come DAZN has all the top middleweights minus Jamal Charlo, and Triple G ain't fighting Andrade? He fighting Derevchenko. Nobody even talking about it. He's fighting him this week. You know, Canelo ain't fighting Andrade. They're all aligned with the same people. They're all aligned and they not make it. So I at least commend Al Heyman and PBC for, okay, if Crawford's the odd man out and he's with Top Rank, you're at least making your top guys fight each other. Jared Hurd had to go through J-Rock. Tony Harrison had to fight Jamel Charlo, and we're supposed to get the rematch to that, right? So they're making it, and I don't even have to go to the welterweights. Spence Porter, Keith Thurman versus Pacquiao versus Broner. Danny fought Keith Thurman. Danny fought Sean Porter. So these guys that are with PBC, they're at least having to collide with each other. These are the best of the best that PBC has to offer, and they're going through it. Now, the last point that I'm going to destroy y'all with is the same people that Errol Spence is now fighting. You guys said you wanted to see, and you said that these guys were ducking Errol Spence. In a short time ago, just a short time ago, people were saying Danny Garcia don't want no smoke, and they were saying Sean Porter don't want no smoke. And the great thing is, not much is really, and they said Keith Thurman don't want no smoke. And Keith Thurman fought Pacquiao, and he showed heart in that fight, so he's taking some time off. But they also said Danny didn't want no smoke, Errol Spence was the boogeyman, and neither did Sean Porter. Well, Sean Porter didn't fight like he didn't want no smoke. It was a war, they went to war, toe-to-toe in the trenches, a dogfight, right? And then Danny Garcia is another person that people said, oh, Danny don't want no smoke, I don't like his energy. Look, when this was happening, when Errol popped in the ring on him, people said Sean Porter was ducking and didn't want no smoke. This was just September of last year. And the funny thing is, not much has really changed. Not much has changed. The only thing that changed is Sean Porter fought Ugas and won a tough fight. But Ugas is a good Cuban boxer. So that's why I'm saying you can't please everybody. People just said that these guys were ducking Spence, and now a short time later we're getting these fights and they're being announced, and that's still not good enough. Now they saying, oh, we want you to fight this guy. Bro, you just said Errol knows what's up, because he the one just said, I told y'all tables would turn. There was a moment Errol couldn't get no work, but now between pressure and maybe Sean Porter performance and stuff, where they're like, oh, I could pull from that and stuff like that. Now we're starting to heat up the division. We're seeing these fights, and not much has changed. Danny Garcia just looked great in his last fight with Granados. So, man, it just sounds like a bunch of hate. That's basically what it is. And motherfuckers is hating, mad because these fights are being made, and it's just certain promotions are having to suffer. So now they're trying to advocate for the fight that they know is not going to happen and make it look like, oh, this is not pay-per-view worthy. They said that with Sean Porter and Spence. That was definitely a pay-per-view fight, in terms of must-see TV and entertainment. Danny Garcia has never been stopped. Stylistically, that's a good fight. People keep talking about Danny's flat-footed. They said the same thing with Matisse and Amir Khan. Amir Khan, you think Errol got way more speed than Amir Khan? Bro, his styles make fights. Danny don't fight like Porter. He's not as quick as Porter, but he does have good timing, and he has a lot of experience, and he's durable, and he's big, bro. So I really like the fight, and it proves what I've been saying. The old media gonna hate, I don't know, but this facial expression though. Anyway, the fight. Let me get off this girl page or whatever. This is a good ass fight, bro. I don't care what nobody says. It's a different style to Porter. These are the best welterweights that are with PBC. Again, the other thing that's hilarious to this. If Terence Crawford, if Top Rank just made Terence Crawford fight Amir Khan, Danny slept Amir Khan. What are we talking about? And we know Sean Porter would sleep Amir Khan. I mean, who thinks that? Who believes that would be a good stylistic matchup for Amir Khan? The pressure and relentless. First of all, Amir Khan couldn't knock Sean Porter out. Errol didn't do it. Keith didn't do it. Kell Brook didn't do it. And Danny Garcia didn't do it. Hell no. There's no way I could see Amir Khan. And then on top of that, Amir Khan struggles with pressure like Maidana. Sean Porter is athletic. Man, that would be a horrible matchup. But anyway, besides that, Danny already beat Amir Khan by stoppage, right? That's who Top Rank had Terence Crawford fight. You guys know the same fights that Errol is fighting, his last 3 fights. If Terence Crawford fought any of those people, because it's Top Rank, and you know how old media try to play it, they would love the fights. If they announce, I would love the fight. If they said Terence Crawford's fighting Mikey Garcia, even now that Errol Spence beat him, I would be happy. You know, if Terence Crawford was fighting Sean Porter, if Terence Crawford was fighting Danny Garcia, these would all be great. So how is it that's what I'm saying? These motherfuckers is hating on Errol so bad. They hating on PBC so bad. They hating on Danny Garcia so bad. They hating on Al Heyman, that black advisor, so bad. They hating on Ego and new media so bad. You know in your heart that any of Errol Spence's last fights, if he fights Danny Garcia next, would definitely be suitable fights that you would love for Terence Crawford. So if you want to see Crawford versus Spence so bad, then how come Spence can't fight guys who are already aligned with his label, that make sense, that make bucks, that help establish, you know, the pay-per-view star path? It's just Terence Crawford. It sucks for him, but he's the odd man out with that based on politics. It is what it is. And I think that's what people realize. And that's what they're mad at, because they can't do nothing about it. They can't stop the train. Look at Danny Garcia. I'm not going to play it for copyright reasons, but he just knocked Granados down hella times. Granados is tricky. He gave people, Broner and Porter, tricky fights. Beat Amir Mom. Man, it's not looking good for old media. Like I've been telling y'all, it really isn't. This is a good fight. And again, how is it okay that Terence Crawford, Top Rank, they're feeding him who they can feed him. And you know, if he fought any of the guys that Errol's fighting, you would love to see Terence Crawford fight any of those guys. And they would be bigger fights and better fights than anyone Crawford's fought since he's been at welterweight, because Top Rank hasn't been able to establish those fights for him or facilitate them. You know, that's a better word. So, you know, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. We unpack. I had to talk about it. I like it. Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, count me in. I think it's a good fight. I explained my reasons. I unpacked the shit, took it all out of the packaging. You know, we got rid of the bubble wrap and all that. It's a good fight. It's a money fight. It's a good fight. Danny ain't no chump. Errol Spence showed he's a dog, showed he could take a punch. It's a different stylistic match to Porter. I think Danny Garcia has better accuracy than Porter. Porter has better athleticism and speed than Danny Garcia. Different fight, you know. And Fox has just done a tremendous job with promoting. So I think they'll do their due diligence, especially since it's happening a week before Super Bowl and Fox is carrying the Super Bowl. So once again, this is what I predicted. And Errol Spence and Terence Crawford is just, unfortunately, has to wait. That's just what it is. I predicted all of this was going to happen. And people now, they're starting to see it. They're starting to see it. And I told you from the beginning. The other thing is Terence Crawford recently did an interview where he said that he's the A side over Errol Spence. I don't, if let's say Errol Spence stopped Danny Garcia, there's no way that Terence Crawford can remain the A side fighting Mean Machines and, you know, Jeff Horns and stuff like that. And Amir Khan quitting, that ended horrible. It did less buys. You get what I'm saying? There's no way, as talented, as much as I like Terence Crawford and as talented a fighter as he is, there's no way that with the push that Fox is giving, as opposed to the lack of push that ESPN is giving Crawford, and the names based on who Errol Spence is privy to, the names in the hat that he's been fighting and can keep fighting, he can get the winner of the Danny Garcia fight, and Spence can easily fight Pacquiao, who just consolidated the WBA belts. There's no way when it's all said and done, Crawford can remain unless he gets in this mix. There's no way he can remain A-side. He says he's an A-side. I don't think he's an A-side right now. Not talking about who would win the fight or who's more skilled. I'm not talking about the actual fight. I'm talking about A-side leverage. There's no way. Bomac said it too. He said, oh, he's the A-side. I don't see how can you be the A-side when he's doing better numbers, bigger crowds, and Fox is doing a better job promoting it. Those types of things. It just, to me, it don't make sense, especially when Top Rank can't give him equivalent star power fights. So once again, people are going to hate and complain, but they definitely going to tune in just like they do to my channel, New Media, Gang Digital Mob. If you're new, consider subscribing. You like what I'm doing. We just working, unpacking the realest topics. Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, I love it. I hope these young brothers get all the money in the world and it's just getting bigger and better for the PBC. Let me know what you guys think. The double standards, they gotta stop. Old media shit gotta stop. That shit's trash. You guys know it. You know all these options would be better than the people that Bob Arum's been able to give for Crawford. Point blank period. I would love to see Crawford versus Mikey Garcia, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. These will all be better fights than Jeff Horn, shit like that, Amir Khan. So it's just, it's the politics of the game. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We're working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.